The Savage River Mine is a story that overcame adversity in one of the toughest places on earth, Tasmania's west coast. A harsh environment, the pioneers were an incredibly tough breed.
Back in 1887, a government department did some exploration here, and a guy called Charles Sprent first discovered this iron ore deposit at Savage River. This wilderness is really rugged, and those early explorers back in the 18 and 1900s did an amazing job to survive out here.
Tasmania has a rich mining heritage, dating back to the late 1800s.
In about 1920, they determined that this was going to be an economic deposit of iron ore. It wasn't till the 60s that it was first drilled, and the exploration happened then when they drilled out the ore body and defined where the magnetite was.
They knew it was close to the surface, but because of the hostile environment between there and anywhere else, shipping-wise, and they couldn't really do much with it.
It was pristine country. It was, no one had been there before, really, other than passing through.
An entrepreneur, Roy Hudson, took an interest in it, and in the 60s convinced an American and a Japanese conglomerate to come in and have a crack at mining the ore there.
And the only access to it was by horse, and the men walked in this little track and fell some timber to make a drill site, and they took the drill components in with a helicopter, and the drillers camped in there in tents, and we used to pack food into them or on a pack horse every week.
The climate was very harsh. We had to learn to work outdoors in the rain. I could reliably predict that it would rain 6 days out of 7 every week.
A lot of the old people said when it wasn't raining, it was dripping off the trees, and that's when it wasn't snowing.
So you just had to work in the rain. You had to work out how to do it. And that involved beach umbrellas on sticks.
If we could go back in time, the only day you'd want to be there is a Sunday, because they used to go to church on Sunday, it didn't work, or probably Christmas Day. Any other time you wouldn't want to be near the place. that's unless you really like work.
In October 67, they pumped the first ore from Savage, so 2.5 years from conception, they had it up and running.
Nowadays, although working conditions have changed slightly, the process of extracting the metallic iron ore from the ground and exporting it to the world is essentially the same.
The process of mining is along the lines of we come in, we do exploration, then we jump through. Once we start, that's all proven up, we go straight into drilling holes, loading holes with explosives, blowing those holes up. Then we come in with the big excavation equipment, mine it out, take it out and put it into waste dumps or into our crusher to send it up to the concentrator.
So, having been drilled, blasted, moved and crushed, the high-grade ore travels via conveyor 1.6 kilometres uphill to the concentrator. Here it's separated using magnets, crushed again and mixed with water. The liquid iron ore slurry is then pumped 86 kilometres to a processing plant at Port Ladder, where it's dried, made into pellets and loaded onto ships for the rest of the world.
The drill and blast guys get pretty excited about what they do, and justly so.
Well, the blast team are a tough bunch of guys, and they act that way as well. They don't let anyone boss them around, including me.
load holes and tie up explosives, and I guess the result at the end of the day is pretty fulfilling. It's a very visual outcome, very loud, noisy outcome. Yeah, they get a bit excited about what they do.
Now that's how you blow the dirt up. There's nothing like standing there and watching a blast go off and seeing a week's worth of work go off and be destroyed within a matter of less than a second.
Leading the drill and blast team is John Crockett. It's his job to make sure there's a constant supply of rock for the mill.
These boys are at the blunt end, you know. If they don't do their job right, nothing else sort of works. The priorities are drilling, blasting and then digging. That's an afterthought, you know. Without those two, you don't have a mine.
It's a serious task, so a sense of humour is essential for survival.
Come on, have a go, would you? Look, it takes 4 and load a hole. Back in my day, it'd take 1.
John has been around the business for quite some time. Very outspoken, cheeky young man.
About 4 and it's over it.
I have concrete each morning. Helps me harden up. Blasting is a bit like sex. You spend, you know, sort of a week planning for it and organising it, and then it's sort of over in about 3 to 5 seconds.
He's done fairly well in a short amount of time. Very proactive, very outspoken, as I said. Calls a spade a shovel and hits you with it, I guess.
Today in stage 1, we're going to get that 2011 shot off at 1 o'clock. We need to get this shot to get the ore up the belt. It's as simple as that.
Today is particularly stressful. A drill rig's been offline for 6 hours, a major setback for operations. At up to $1 million a day, delays can become costly.
So right there, 6 hours drill for, stair and air issues. 6 hours.
Over a 24-hour period, a grid of 50 holes are drilled to a depth of 16 metres. These are then pumped full of liquid explosive. The resulting area is a minefield the size of 2 tennis courts. This will be detonated at 1 p.m. today.
It's going to give us about 37,000 cubes of broken stocks. So we really need to get that one off. We can't afford to delay this any longer.
Meanwhile, out on the Pacific Ocean, a ship known as the Atalanta is sailing from China all the way to Port Latta on the north coast of Tasmania. Still 2 days away, crew prepare for its arrival. A ship like this arrives almost every 2 weeks to haul away the precious iron ore pellets. This is Port Latta. Its pelletising plant turns the iron ore slurry into pellets, ready for loading on the ship.
I started here in '73. They told me I wouldn't be here long because the place wouldn't go that long. I'm still here. You can go back and you'll find people that their father worked here, and now probably their grandson works here, that type of thing. Yeah, it's a family business.
This is Port Latta. We receive the concentrate or slurry from Savage River. Basically it's dried, boiled, and we cook it, if you like, using a furnace.
It's magnetite, which is a lower grade material, which is brought to a high grade, and to bring it together, you've got to form it into a solid lump. So we make a pellet, which gives you a high-grade pellet. It's also a very good blast feed. The air can circulate around the pellet.
And we are probably one of the largest pellet makers in Australia. What happens is that to make steel you need to, it's a little bit like baking a cake. You need to mix a variation of ores together with the various impurities so that you actually end up producing the right specification of steel. Our particular pellets here at Grange are of high quality and are considered by the steel makers as being very valuable in the process of steel making.
The slurry arrives from Savage. We basically thicken it and then dry it. The concentrate has some bentonite added to it. It's rolled into balls, into the furnace for 4 or 5 hours, and out the bottom is a pellet.